this is Debbie from Project 39 Mini Albums, and I'm going to show you how I made this cute little mini album for today's project in Sandy's 13 Frights Before Halloween 2022. So this mini album measures 5 by 6, is that right? It's about 6 1/4 really. And it's real cute. It's adorable. This paper was fabulous. And I don't remember where I got it from. I only had a little envelope of scraps left. And it worked for what I needed. You'll see I stretched out. For instance, I used some of this grayish brown paper that was in my stash. And the gold. There was gold in the paper. And so I used some gold paper to help highlight it. So, and of course the flowers I had in my stash. You would never think to use some pink or coral flowers for Halloween, but it worked perfectly. So let me take you through the book, and then I'll show you real quick how to make this book. It's fast and easy and will work with a variety of different themes. So of course the front has this little cut apart. I backed on gold. Then I made a larger border out of paper from my stash, back that on black, back that on gold, and then there was this fabulous print in the paper collection that I backed with that same gray, and there we go. So there's 7 layers plus the book. I mean, that's how to stretch your paper. All right, inside it has these white pumpkins, and again, you see those little gold elements? They just add some nice little touches. And I don't know if you can see, but that gold, let's see if I get the light. Oh, it's not going to show, but the gold is actually little skulls. So fabulous. So those little pumpkins make cute little cut aparts. Here again, I used some coral paper from my stash. I backed on this tomato soup red color. And then here we have a hidden pocket at the top that I just had these little tabs punches that I added there, and added just a couple of pieces of ribbon with a staple just to add a little touch of oomph to it. So this first page has a pocket and a top loading pocket, and so the back side is also a pocket. Here's one of the little elements from that paper, a little print again. We have this print on this page, perfect for a cut down 4 by 6 photo. Here's a little hidden pocket. So then the next page, first page has pockets on both sides and a top loading pocket. The next page just has the hidden pocket on the side, and that's it. So here's another one of the papers. Beautiful florals with the bats. I mean, aren't the bats fabulous? So this I just cut and backed it on a little bit of gold metallic paper. I've got some black dots with gold here. And again, this is a pocket page that has the pocket on both sides, a tag, top loading pocket on the top. So we've got this pocket and that paper there. So here's this. It's just got a nice bold black and white print, a little gray pattern paper there, and then this gray and black matches with the crows and the feathers. So again, this page has nothing on it. There's the side loading pocket. Brings us to another beautiful floral, but really cool for Halloween with the coral color. It blows my mind that coral with Halloween. I mean, this isn't really a Halloween page, but it'll work. So this little cut apart says, "What a hoot." It's backed on a sort of rosette that I cut for my cricket. And here's the pocket. And I used some coral paper from my stash to back this page. There is the top loading pocket with gray. And then the final page, there is the matching pocket for that. And here is cut apart, well, not really cut apart, just a scrap of paper to put in the pocket. There's the gray I had some evergreen trying to match with the leaves in this. And of course you can probably see the gold elements of the pumpkins. Muted tones, but then you add the gold and it makes it pop. This little boo was just a little cut apart. And there's the back, just a pretty little print. And there is that. So that's what I have for this cute little mini. And then let me show you how I make it. All right, let us make the book. So you will need 2 pieces of chipboard that are 6 1/4 by 4 3/4. You will need a piece for the hinge that is 1 3/4 by 6 1/4. I'm using 2 pieces of 8 1/2 by 11 cardstock. I know you've seen me put a book together, the cover in different ways, but I'm going to use this old-fashioned method that I had used for years, and it was fine as well. Sometimes I want to change things up a bit. So I put a piece of score tape close to the edge. I use my grid on my mat to help line things up. And I just line it up at the top. And down, and burnish. So there we go with that. I'm going to pull out, I have a 6-inch piece of permanent double-sided adhesive, and I use this to put tape on my chipboard rather than using glue. It gives me a smoother cover. Now it doesn't matter so much because this a lot of times you'll find if you're using this craft colored cardstock, it's pretty thick, and if you were to use a glue line you wouldn't see it, but I'm just going to use it in this case because I have it in my stash and mine as well. So I just put all 3 pieces down at one time, and I have a piece of tape stuck to my fingers, and I will cut it, turning them upside down. I will put a link in the description box on where to buy this. It just works for me. Okay, now that I have that done, so on this side you can see the line from where I put the 2 pieces of the paper together. The line on the other side is going to be over by 1/2 inch to about here. See, if I turn it over, you'll see here's where the 2 papers come together. So know that this is about where the 2 papers come together on the other side, and I want to center this right over that line. It doesn't have to be perfect because it's just the cover, and you're going to put paper and people won't notice where the line is, but I like to at least start with there. And I'm eyeballing this. A lot of times I'll get out my spacers and I will use that, but in this case I'm not. So hopefully it's at least somewhat straight. I'm going to add 1/4 inch score tape right next to the edge of that on both sides of the chipboard. And then do your best to burnish that down because you really won't get a better opportunity. Okay. And then I'll peel that off. I find this bone folder helps to at least start. Okay, so can you see? Yes, you can. You see the shine of that. All right, let's take this. And you notice my adhesive doesn't go all the way to the bottom, but that's okay. It'll still work. All right, so now I'm going to place this. So this is 1/4 inch score tape. I'm going to put this on the score tape just a little bit so there's still a good chunk of room. Where the 1/4 inch score tape shows, or yeah, that is score tape. All right, and do the same with this. And again, I'm eyeballing it. If you're not as good at eyeballing it, if you're not sure of yourself, then just go to the outside of where that double-sided adhesive is. All right, I'm going to turn it over and burnish. Now I feel like there's a lot of extra room here that I probably need about that. So I'm going to cut some off. I could have cut it when I started. Before I started, cut the paper down. Oops, and my cut is not even straight. We'll use these probably for pockets or tags or something. All right, now I want to cut a corner. So you could just go across like this. What I tend to do is I come about 1/8 of an inch away. Let me take you down a little bit closer. An 1/8 of an inch away from the corner of the chipboard, and I cut more like an angle like that. I've been doing it for a long time, so I'm comfortable eyeballing it. If you're not sure, then grab your ruler and you can cut straight across against an 1/8 of an inch away. That's perfectly acceptable. But I'm going to go this way and that way. Either or. I don't think it makes much of a difference. I mean, you've seen my newer versions of cutting where I just cut a square off of the corner, if you watch my channel a lot. And that way is perfectly acceptable too. Okay, so I have the corners cut. I probably could cut that a little more. I'm going to take this and push it down on my surface and fold for all 4 corners and burnish as well. I'm pushing against the edge of my chipboard. That will help ensure that I get a nice crisp line. Open it up. I just work it a little bit. The time you spend now will help later to make sure everything stays. All right, I am getting out my liquid adhesive. All right, now I'll add glue to right at the edge of the chipboard. And I'm going to go around and do all of that first because I can work quickly. If you're not comfortable with this, just do one side at a time. The reason I'm putting it on is, again, this is really thick cardstock, and I feel like it gives it a little time for the cardstock to moisten. It'll help fold easier. I don't know if that's true, but in my mind, it makes me feel good. All right, taking my bone folder again, pushing this up against the side. I'm going to fold down with my fingers, especially in the center, and push that down, and then go towards the outside and just burnish real well. It's okay that some of the glue is coming out. And now I'll do the other long side. I want to especially get to the edge and across the top. So again, fold, pull down. And there. All right, so now there's a little fold of, I'm going to come closer. All right, so that's the glue we put down. There's some glue there. I'm actually not going to worry about it. But you see where there is an extra triangle of paper coming out? I'm going to, hoping that is focused for you. I don't know that it is, but I'm going to take my bone folder and push it down, cleaning it off because I'll go in from the corner and push it down. So that'll just help the paper fold. Make sure I clean off my bone folder. Oops, add glue. And fold and burnish. All right, we'll do this side as well. So there is the corner. I'm pushing that down, cleaning off my bone folder. Push it down. There we go. Let me come out again so you can see what I'm doing. Add glue to the side and the top. And there we go. Okay, I'll hold it down with my fingers and burnish. So yeah, there is some glue coming out over there. I'll just grab a paper towel and clean that off. It would still dry fine, but there we go. And then as a final touch, I'll take the edge of my bone folder and go across the edge of the book. All right, good enough. Here we have the book. I'm going to take my bone folder with one of the blunt points or blunt tips. This is small enough, sort of a triangle shape, so I can take it and just raise up the side of the book and push this the gap, so the two score tapes that's on the back of this part and the back of that will meet, and that will hold. And then you can of course raise it, and I'm going to get into there with the edge of my bone folder, and there we go. I'll turn it over this way as well. Oops. And then we'll do it with this side, just again pushing this down. I'm going to turn it over. It would work better this way. So the papers and the score tape meet, and it folds nicely into that channel. I want to make sure it has a nice sharp edge, not that you'll ever see it. And then I fold it and burnish on both sides. And there we have a book cover. I remember the first time I made one, that feeling of satisfaction. I made a book. All right, now let's go ahead and grab some paper so we can make the hinge system. This is easy also. I think it's all easy. It's just a matter of having practice and knowing what you're doing. Since I make a lot and I usually use the same measurements, here's a tip for you. If you can see in the channels, I put dots where I normally like to score. It means I can just do it really quickly because I generally score with the same gussets and hinge size. I may add more or subtract more, but I usually do it the same. I usually have a 1/2 inch hinge and a 3/8 inch gusset. If you like doing something different, like some people like to do half, 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 a 1/2 inch gusset, 1/2 inch hinges, then you might want to mark it on here. So anyhow, just a little tip. So I'm going to start at 2, and I'm going to do a 1/2 and a 1/2 and then 3/8. 1/2, 1/2. So it'll be the hinge, hinge, gusset, hinge, hinge, gusset. So let's start at 2, 2 and a 1/2, 3. That's our first set of hinges. So you've got the one hinge and you've got the center point. Remember that because we'll need that. 3 3/8, 3 3/4, 4 3/8, 4 3/4, 5 1/4, 5 3/4, 6 1/8, 6 5/8, 7 1/8, 7 1/2, 8, 8 1/2. So you'll see we have 5 sets of hinges and we have 4 gussets in between those hinges. All right, keep your bone folder handy. What we're going to do is we're going to fold each hinge set in half. So I have the hinge here and hinge here. I'm going to fold that in half and burnish. Make sure your papers are lined up on the sides. Here's the next set of hinges. Burnish. Here's the next set of 1/2 inch hinges. Burnish between them. One more. And the final one. So I have 5 creases. Now, let's see if this works because the paper is a little heavier. What I usually do is use my fingers at the top and pull this towards me. You see that where we scored wants to go up, so it's already trained. Then I sort of pull it towards me and push it down. Yeah, it is a little tough. And grab that hinge and fold it back and forth on the crease line to train it to stay together. And then I'll pull the next one. So this one will want to make a mountain. I'll let it, squeeze it together, and go back and forth. And do that for all 5 sets of hinges. Okay, so now you've got sort of, looks like an accordion. It's not an exact accordion. Now I'm going to pull them together real well so I have all of my hinges standing up. And then I'll push them all away from me, making sure that they're folded on the score line, and I will burnish across. And then I'll pull them all and fold them towards me. I'm holding it down so they don't escape from me. And burnish. Alright, I'm just going to fold them so they're all faced up. So they're not glued or anything. They're just a little, they're better trained. Now I will start gluing. So to do the first, I'm going to open this up a little bit so you can see. I'm going to add glue, a fairly generous amount, because this is what's holding the book together. I don't want to get to the very top, but I want to get close to the top. And then what I'm going to do is, I'm going to put some paper down just in case it makes a mess. I'm going to turn it upside down and pinch it together and make sure that glue is distributed. I'm sort of using my fingernails, pushing at the bottom of it as well, so that one will stick. Go back and forth a little bit. And so now that one is adhered. And we'll do that with the other ones as well. Add some glue. You only need to add glue to one side. And then you pinch it and burnish it with your fingers. We're going to go back with the bone folder in a second. You could run glue along the top if you want, or go this way. It doesn't matter. Whatever pattern of glue you want to use. So I'm putting glue on all remaining 3, and I'm going to do them all at the same time. So I'll do this one closest to me. This one next. This one next. Okay. So now I have my 5 hinges, and then you can see clearly the 4 gussets, and these I call the wings because this is where I'm going to hold when I put it in the book. Yeah, you can see some glue there, and that's okay. We're going to add more later. All right, I'm going to take my bone folder and put them all in one direction and burnish. Push them all in the other direction and burnish. And then I will stand them straight up and we'll adhere them to the book. So I want to make sure, I'm going to eyeball this, I want to make sure that it's going to be lined up, and I can see that I have less than 1/4 of an inch on each side of that channel created from where the cover hits the spine. And I want to make sure I'm lined up the same on the bottom as the top. So I'm just looking to see how much room I'm going to need. We'll fold those in just so I can see clearly. And I have a good idea. Once I know, I sort of eyeball it and know what I'm working with, then I'll turn it over and add glue. I'll first add glue into this little channel created by where the hinges are, because I want to make sure that stays down, real well. Then I'll add more glue in the gussets. I try to stay a little bit away from the edge. It's going to ooze out once you're pushing it down. And then I'll add maybe about 1 inch worth of glue on both, putting it on the wings, but I still want room to hold it. See, I still can get a good grip of it. And then I know where I wanted it to go because I looked at it before. I'm making sure it's centered, making sure that the bottom of the hinge is parallel to the bottom of the spine, and I just set it down. Once I set it down, then I start using my fingers to burnish it. So I start towards the center. There's an even number, so there's not a center one. And I start from the top, go to the middle, start from the bottom, go to the top. I don't want to push the glue out. I want to just distribute the glue throughout this channel and push it down. You can use your bone folder. I start with my fingers and then I go to my bone folder. So now I'll go to the one next to this one. I stay towards the center and I push over my hinge, and that sort of moves this one over a little bit. So just distribute it, and then I go to the left again, and then I go to the right, and then to the far left, and this can be pushed down now too, and then to the far right, and push that down. If if it takes you longer than it took me, then just put glue down on the gussets and then leave this. We'll finish this, but you don't want the glue to dry. All right, now that it's down, now I'll start with my bone folder, and this is a non-stick bone folder, so I know it's not going to make any marks on my paper, and I just go close to the hinges and just make sure they're burnished down with the blunt point of my bone folder. Okay, now what I'm going to do is work the channel where the book came together. Okay, and then I'll also burnish here, and then this is where, if you don't glue this all down, you still have time. You can lift this up and add glue underneath. You'll be covering this with paper, so I mean, it's not going to go anywhere. I'll do the same here. I probably only have about an inch to play with here. And push that down. I'm going to put the top on my glue and burnish. All right, I'm going to work this a little bit more before I put the pages in, but I want the glue to dry before I play with it too much, so I'm just going to put that aside. All right, let's work on some pages. So in the book, I have 3 pages of this style. It's got the pocket, front and back, and it's open on the top. So let's make those. For that, you will need 3 10 by 8.5 inch pieces of cardstock. I'm going to put this on my scoreboard and score, wait, do I have this right? Yes. Score at 1/2 inch. Whoops. Score in the center at 5. And I need another 1/2 inch, so score at 9.5. Whoops. Then I'll rotate so the 8.5 side is at the top, and I will score at 2.5 inches. Okay, so you can see the score lines on here. Let me move this out of the way. I'm going to grab my scissors and a pencil so I can show you what we're going to do. So what I want to do is I want to leave the tabs here on the bottom to help make the pocket. So I don't need these tabs. And I want to score, I want to come at an angle to miter those tabs. So you can use scissors, you could use a knife. If you're good with your cutting board, you could use that. I'm first going to miter the corners. Then I'm going to miter up to where our cut is, up to where our, I'm sorry, score line is. So we've got that. And then I'm going to cut this excess piece off right on the score line. And like I said, you can bring this back to your cutting board if you want to, but it's easier for me to show you if I use scissors. And if you have long arm scissors, they work wonderfully. So that is what you're going to end up with. All right, let's fold and burnish a little bit. So let's start from the center. I'm turning it over. This is where the bump is. That's where the indentation is. I like to fold into the bump, probably doesn't matter. So if you forget a time or two, don't beat yourself up. So anyhow, I'm going to burnish there. And actually, just to make sure it folds easy, I'm going to burnish on the other side, just so we've got good movement. And then for the bottom piece, we'll go up. And I'll turn it over and fold and burnish it down. And then let's work on these little tabs. I will just fold that to the inside. Are you seeing what we're doing? So now what we're going to do is we're going to fold this up, close it, and then burnish it again, because now that you've done that, the papers might want to wreak havoc. I'm going to fold the tab first to the inside, then fold it down, and then fold it across. It's a little wobbly, so I'm going to start from here and burnish it. It's wobbly because you've got all these folds, you've got all these layers, and sometimes it just doesn't want to sit right. That's okay. And you may notice that this piece does not come right up to the edge of that. That is okay. Mine is off at the top by maybe a 1/16 of an inch. It's okay. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's going to still make a nice book. So I'm going to take my glue, put it on the tab, and fold that down. And then we'll burnish it. And we'll do this one as well. So here's the tab. Fold that in. I know I'm doing this upside down, I'm sorry. I'll turn it right side in a second. And there we go. So there is our first, third, and fifth page, and it's got the pocket already done. When we put it in the book, we're going to just add a little bit of glue to the bottom, just so you can use it as a pocket and nothing's going to escape down the bottom. All right, so let's do that with the other two pieces. I'll do that off camera, but in the meantime, let's work on pages 2 and 4. All right, I'm going to show you two ways of making the same page. If you have 12-inch paper, this is easiest. Cut a piece 4.5 by 12, and you'll need a piece 4.5 by 1. Put the 12-inch side at the top. Where is my burnishing tool? I don't know. It's here somewhere. We'll have to look for it. But in any case, score it at 6. Yeah, this works too. Okay, so we have 4.5 by 12 scored in half at 6. Then you take the 4.5 by 1 and score it at 1/2 inch. This 1/2 inch piece we're going to fold. We're going to grab our scissors and miter. So I'm going to go from the fold to the open end at an angle. Can you see where I'm going with this? I guess I'm going to do it on my scoreboard. So I'm going to fold this down, put glue on one side of my inch piece, put it right at the bottom, burnish it, add the other piece, or add glue to the top of that little tab, fold this down, and there's your page. It's open on the sides. It's like a little tube, which the page, I guess I could have shown you this before, is just a plain page. You know, sometimes it's nice to have a page that you can actually look at the paper. You could put a photo mat in here if you want, but I'm just leaving it the way it is. And then that will give you a side loading pocket. So there is that. But if you don't have 12-inch paper, because you only would need one, and that makes it quick and easy, use 2 pieces. This comes from an 8.5 by 11 piece. I cut one down to 4.5 by 6, and this is 4.5 by 7. Put the 7-inch side at the top, score at 1/2 inch, and at 6.5. And we're going to miter these corners, all 4 of them. Let's move this off because we're done with that for a while. I'm going to fold these up and burnish. And then I'm going to add glue. And put this, lining it up at the top corner, and then sliding it over so the sides meet, and lining it at the top. I'll add glue to this bottom tab, and we'll go over, and now we have another tube. So that's 2 ways of doing the same thing. Okay, we're going to start putting pages in the book, but before I do that, I want to show you an option on closing the bottom of this page. As I said, we would put glue on when we put it in the book so the tag or hidden photo mat won't slide down too low. Another thing I'm going to do is I cut a 1-inch by 4.5 inch piece of cardstock and scored it at 1/2 inch, and I'm adding glue to one tab. I'll open up my page, put this centered on the inside bottom, burnishing it, make sure that glue is in there real well, and then I'll add glue to this other tab and close this and burnish it. And now that's closed at the bottom. So let's go ahead and use that and start and put, no, actually let's do this open one. So this is one of the open ones. So first of all, wait a minute, let me not get ahead of myself. We have 3 pages with the pockets, and we have 2 pages that are just the tubes. It's going to be, this is page 5, page 4, page 3, page 2, page 1. So 1, 3, and 5 will be the pocket pages, 2 and 4 will be the plain pages. So we're going to start with a pocket page in the back of the book. I always start in the back. I don't know why. I want to make sure that my book will fold. Okay. And so what we're going to do is I'm taking my page, putting it right next to my hinge, and I am going to add glue just to the top half of my hinge. I don't need it all the way down. It'll smear, it'll go down, and I'm just putting it on the side facing the right, not the left side. And I'll put my page in here next to it, and then before I close it, I'm going to add my glue to the bottom, and that will close that off. So I'll fold this hinge over, fold my, well, I won't fold it yet. I'm going to burnish this. I want to make sure it's going to be on straight. To do that, I make sure it's lined to the bottom of the page, and then when we finish gluing it, I'll make sure it's on. I add glue to the top of the hinge, and then I close this up, burnish real well. I see glue seeping out. I used too much apparently. And then I will make sure my page opens and closes and it is even. You still have a little time to adjust it if you need to, but that one's good. All right, now I'll take one of my tube pages. First of all, dry fit it, make sure it fits. And this does. If for some reason it doesn't, all you have to do is take your scissors and just trim a little off of your hinge. But in this case, this fits. So I will add glue to, again, the top and on both sides. Oops. So I want to show you. It's not a heck of a lot of glue, but it's enough to keep it. And then I'll take my tube, slide it over the top of that, and push that down and burnish. I'm making sure it's even top and bottom with the other page I had just done. And we're good with that. All right, now another pocket page. So this one I've already closed up with my 1-inch strip at the bottom. I'm going to add glue here. And glue here because it's already, my page is closed. I'm sorry if you can't see, but I'm putting glue on. And then I sort of straddle that, go up, so then the bottoms, at the bottom of my hinge, make sure it's even with all those other pages, and burnish. That's good. Another tube page, so I'll add glue. To both sides of my hinge. Isn't this a great magical invention, the hinge book? How cool. So put it in and make sure it's lined up. Everything's even, life is good. Burnish that down. So I'm not going all the way down to the bottom of the hinge. I'm got about 1/8 of an inch on the hinge, and that just allows for some more movement. And finally, page number 1, which in this case is our last page. Add glue. And put my page on. It's down to the bottom. I pull it up a little bit. Make sure it's all even. Look at how nice those pages are. They're all, I don't know if you'd say they're about 3/8 of an inch. I was going to say half. They're not half. They're 3/8 of an inch apart, spread out evenly. All right, and then we go through and we burnish until we feel like all those pages are going to stay in. The bottom part where the pocket is, you might have to work a little bit. Okay, and there is our book with the pages. All right, now to finish the book, I cut some extra photo mats. I cut 6 that are 4 by 5 3/4. You could go taller if you wanted to, but that's what I did for that, just so it would fit inside. So I cut 6 of those, and that will go on inside the pockets. For the top loading pocket, I cut some that are 4 by 6. Now you also could cut them at an angle and make them a tag and have some ribbon or yarn or string or something at the top, just so people know that is a tag. So you'll do that for 3. And then for the hidden pocket that opens on the side for pages 2 and 4, I cut 2 pieces that are 4 1/4 by 5 3/4. And then I had some scrap paper left over, so I just cut tags out of that scrap paper. I may or may not use them, but at least they're already cut and ready to go. You can add a pocket if you want in the front and back, but again, I was trying to make it quick and easy that you could use a 6x6 paper pad, and that is how we did that. So that is this same book. So again, we've got, you know, again, a couple of tags. Great way to use up all your leftover cardstock. There is a photo mat there. There is a photo mat. And for this, I just took a little, I believe I used a tab die. I don't think I used this punch that looks smaller. Let me see if I can figure out which one I used. I am not sure which one I used. I do have, whoops, come on back. This is an EK Success punch, and you obviously just fold it, and then you can put it, before you put your paper on, put it on, and then add the paper. You could cut a little strip to put on the top. I also have a circle punch, an EK Success, that's 1 inch. You could use 1 inch or 1.5 inch or 1 1/4 circle punch. You could use 2 circles, put one and go like that, and there's a nice little pull tab, one on each side. You could put a smaller piece of paper on there if you want to, or cut a circle. This again is, I think it's 1.5, fold it in half, and then take another circle punch. Come here. Cut one corner, cut the other corner, and then you can put that on like that, and that makes a nice little pull tab as well. So a couple other things, I'll put these in the description box of the ones that I used, and you don't even need a pull tab. I could have just put the ribbon on. I used a little staple, and I just don't want people to not know that that's there. And I did the same for the little side tabs. And as you can see, I've got a couple of other little photo mats inside. I think that one, isn't that pretty paper? Gosh, I love that. Nope, I thought I had one that had 2. Oh yeah, this one has 2. So, and that is it. That is how I made this little Happy Halloween book. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to look at all of the other collaborators listed in the description box. There are 10 other talented, fabulous ladies joining this collab. That's again what I have for you today. Thanks so much for watching.